In order to be able to manually prescreen a cancer patient to a clinical trial, nurses takes approximately 25 minutes. So in order for a cancer patient to be prescreened for 13,000 actively recruiting clinical trials, that takes days, if not months. This is Selin Kurnaz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Massive Bio. Massive Bio has been founded based on my family's frustration in cancer care. The whole premise of Massive Bio is that we're trying to provide access to cancer patients to clinical trials, regardless of their location or their financial stability, because there is about 13,000 actively recruiting clinical trials at clinicaltrials.gov right now, and there is only, even in the United States, 3% of cancer patients are getting access to clinical trials, and for targeted treatment, that ratio is even in the order of 0.01%. So with the adaptation of Massive Bio, our goal is to provide access to cancer patients to clinical trials, regardless of their location or their financial stability. Well, the entrepreneurship journey is very interesting. So when I first started the company, I was thinking that, we do due diligence, in a way that I have done in my prior roles. In 90 days, we will put together the business plan. In 100 days, everything will be working, functional, and everything. We are just like off to the races. Massive Bio uses AI in 3 different forms. The first one is that Massive Bio uses the artificial intelligence in order to be able to do quote-unquote deep prescreening of a cancer patient in 13,000 actively recruiting clinical trial. What does that mean? That means that, in order to be able to manually prescreen a cancer patient to a clinical trial, nurses takes approximately 25 minutes. So in order for a cancer patient to be prescreened for 13,000 actively recruiting clinical trials, that takes days, if not months. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to do that prescreening in 6 to 7 seconds so that thousands of cancer patients can be prescreened at scale and get access to clinical trials. That's the first way that we're using the artificial intelligence. The second way is that we're trying to consolidate different data points and try to do a real-time patient identification where the cancer patients are, depending upon the different factors, so that once we understand where they are, we can target them appropriately. And then the third part, where we are kind of in I would say, starting to use the artificial intelligence, is really mapping out that cancer patient's journey and trying to figure out what is going to happen next in this cancer patient's journey when they go and enroll into a particular clinical trial. So those are the 3 ways at which one of them is on the prescreening side, the other one is on the patient identification side, and then the third one, it's more on the monitoring as well as in the engagement side. So artificial intelligence, we completely understand that it's an overly used word in our industry. However, we use artificial intelligence as an enabler in order to be able to accelerate and expand the access to clinical trials. It's just a means and an end, and it's a technology that we use in order to create a differentiated access to clinical trials to cancer patients. In the traditional journey, 50% of the time, cancer patients, when they go into their medical oncologist, they're not going to be informed by clinical trials. The remaining 50%, they are informed by clinical trials, but they're only informed by the clinical trials that's happening at the 4 walls of the hospital that they have been treated. There is a concierge level of support that we provide in order to be able to resolve the issues for transfer from one location to another, of their referral process, any of the financial and the logistical issues, so that they have the convenience at their home to get prescreened for these 13,000 actively clinical trials, which give them a significant amount of more option, plus a concierge level of services that helps them to get through the, I would say, all the operational issues that they have to overcome in order to enroll into a trial. The second value proposition of a cancer patient is that, of course, there is the nature of participating into a clinical trial, which gives them an early access to these drugs, because it takes about $2.7 billion, 10 to 15 years in order to create a drug. And with the participation to a clinical trial, they're getting access to those drugs much faster and in a much accelerated fashion. The other aspect for the cancer patient is that when you are a cancer patient going into a clinical trial journey, you are a very special patient, which means that your entire process has been monitored and supported, and with this kind of level of the clinical trial route, you have the ability to be able to go into that process and get all the benefit from the medical care. And finally, there is a social responsibility of being a participant of a clinical trial, because with your support, with your augmentation, with your inclusion, the next generation are going to be able to get access to the cutting edge treatments much faster. There are certain things that is not going to change at Massive Bio. One thing that's not going to change Massive Bio is our passion to support the patients. The second thing that is not going to change at Massive Bio is our dedication to cancer. Those are the two factors that is not negotiable at Massive Bio. But among that, we have a very, very big vision in order to be able to change the world of oncology upside down in a better, faster, and a more efficient way. I'm a learner. I am still a student in life, and no matter what age that I become, I will continue to be a student in that sense. And I see that this is my, I would say, day one in life to start my learning journey. And this is going to be a wild ride, but I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that have been presented along the journey, and let's go forward.